we'll do the live thing first. Like, hey everybody, welcome back to the Bigmark podcast. It's me, your host, Bigmark. Welcome if it's your first time listening. If not, welcome back. Like I always say, make sure to subscribe to the podcast, wherever you're listening to it. Hit the bell on YouTube there if you're watching. Make sure you know when all of our new videos drop. Rate the podcast if you like, you know what I mean? A few people have gone out there and done it so far, and it's awesome, and it gets us more views out there. But if you ever wanted to support the podcast in any way, you can always check us out on the Patreon at patreon.com/thebigmarkpod. And yeah, it's another Tuesday night, and I'm wide awake because someone just tried to break into my truck. Classic Hamilton living, I guess, everybody. Shout out Hamilton Police. You guys were gemstones tonight. I guess driving... So I live downtown in Hamilton, and I basically park my truck on one of the busiest streets in town. Not right on the street, but like in a lot right off the main drag. And I guess the police were just kind of out doing their routine patrol, and saw a guy kind of like loitering around the little lot that I park in. Went and checked out. He had a bunch of stuff on him. They come knock on my door. I was literally like about to start recording tonight. And all of a sudden, boom, banging, doorbell ringing. I'm like, oh shit, like what's going on? I had a friend of mine who had some mental health issues. I was worried, does he need some help? Like what's going on? Obviously. And it's a police officer. He's like, "You're not Mark, are you?" I was like, uh-oh. So they take me around, and they're like, "Yeah, we caught a guy breaking into your truck." And I'm like, "Oh man." So for all intents, I believe that they caught the guy because he wasn't around, but they were telling me like how old he was, and he was like an older guy, and anyway. I believe the officers were being so candid, and the sergeant was being so candid because the brewery I work for, Sean and Ed Brewing Company in Dundas, shout out Sean and Ed's, actually one of the silent partners is also a police officer, and they knew right away, and they actually reached out to him and said, and he goes, "Hey, Big Mark, what did he do?" So obviously they were on my side, and like I said, maybe a little bit more candid than usual, but spot on, taking care of business, making sure they took my statement, did all that stuff. The guy took a bunch of stuff from my car, which sucks. Like tried to take my stereo, a bunch of stuff like from work, like work-related things. Obviously, as working at a brewery, kind of have like beer-related things. And so he was just it was full-on literal smash and grab. Broke one of the windows in my truck to get in. Smashed glass everywhere. Had to put up fucking cardboard. We'll see what happens. I mean, I gotta go get it fixed. I'm assuming because they caught the guy, they made a full report and all that. I guess that's covered by insurance because it's like not my fault. But it's so ironic, right? Like, I was kind of thinking about getting a new car, and was literally looking, been in the running for it for a few weeks now. And I guess you could look at it like maybe if I had the new car now, Buddy would be breaking into the new car. But at the same time, it probably also would have had like better alarm systems and stuff, so maybe you wouldn't have even gone for it. But I got an older truck anyway, so what can you do, right? So luckily I got everything back, I'm pretty sure. I think there might have been 2 cats involved. because I wasn't really missing anything of value, but I had a couple samples in the truck, and I think they took some of those. So anyway, super bummer the way she goes, I guess, living in the city, big city. That's living in the big city living. And so like I said, I'm fucking wired. But anyway, it's funny how that shit kind of gets your adrenaline going a little bit. I mean, like, I didn't do anything wrong, but just even talking to cops sometimes, you don't want to say anything wrong, and they ask questions in a certain, sometimes, like, the guy wasn't being a dick or anything, but sometimes, police officers ask very specific, exact questions, obviously, because they're trying to get exact statements, and that, sometimes, rattles the cage a little bit. But again, it's not like I'm sweating out there freaking out. The guys were beauty guys. Chat with them for a little bit, and got the stuff that was taken back. So get a new window out of it, hopefully, and not have to pay any money. But if I do, whatever, I got to sell that truck anyway and hopefully get something new. So, guess I won't be leaving anything in there again, but I guess he was going for my stereo, and the thing was a piece of shit old stereo too. Like, I was so surprised someone was even going for that. The guy's old school, I guess. It's an older guy, it sounded like, which is, sad, I guess, in itself. And, you worry about people having to go to these lengths, and, how long has this guy been doing stuff like this, and breaking into cars, and it's really tough. But again, drug induced potentially, something around drugs, whether it's, whether he was high and it impaired his judgment, or he needed to get his fix and, pushed to do desperate things. It's kind of trouble, but what can you do? My plan today was kind of to talk about how Sober October was going. But again, kind of got derailed to start with. So it's pretty late. It's pretty late here in Hamilton right now to all of our international listeners out there. But again, it kind of jacks up your adrenaline. I always remember back in university, a few of my buddies were coming back from the bar, and I lived, so there was a neighborhood, and forgive me if I told this story before, but this always reminds me of that when I have to deal with police officers. But the neighborhood where a lot of my teammates played, a lot of the guys on the football team played, was called Walmer Grove. The Grove. Shout out the Grove. Shout out Grove boys. And I'd say 80% to 90% of our starting defense was there, and like a good chunk of the overall defense was there. My buddy B-Rye lived there, and I think he was really the only offensive representative that I can remember. May eventually, because May shout out Alex May, he moved over to offense eventually, so I guess he counted. But most of these guys were defensive guys. I guess not that there's anything to do with it, but they all, a bunch of guys, like I'm talking like, I guess 25 guys essentially were living in this small area on this one cul-de-sac in London. And they called it the Grove, and, many parties ensued. It was really funny. Each house, there was probably 5 houses, and each house was kind of an open door policy, and you never, honestly, not living there, I never really truly knew who lived where, because everyone was just kind of like nebulous moving through, and, what's yours is ours kind of thing mentality, and it was really cool. But I lived in a neighborhood like just adjacent, so there's kind of like a little park separating us, which was great because I could just walk over there and hang out with the boys, and then walk home, no problem. And then like my place was in between their house and campus too, so guys would always stop off at my place too, hang out. But my address was 420 Coombs in London. So obviously a really easy number to remember. So like I said, a few of my buddies that will remain nameless, but if you're listening, you know who you are. Yeah. Anyway, I guess they're coming back from the bar and they didn't want to pay the cab, didn't have the money, whatever. And they're like, how are we going to ditch the cab? So they told the cab driver my address. So drops them off at my address. And this is like early second year. So like we just moved into our house. We kind of, loosey-goosey, kind of same thing. Doors open, guys are home. We're just hanging out. No big deal. But a couple of my guys were from like rural Ontario, so they didn't give a shit. Like everyone was just kind of hanging out. Nice neighborhood, not really sketchy. Much to our later chagrin. But so doors open, so literally the boys just walk right through. And at this point I'm sleeping, so I want to say it's early November. Late October, early November, probably at this point. So, no smoking weed, no nothing. Talk about sober October. I mean, drinking from time to time, but, just you can't do anything really because you're going to get tested. So, and it's like, I think it was like a Tuesday or Wednesday night. So we had practice that evening and we had another practice the next night. So I'm just chilling, just literally sleeping in bed. And one of my roommates, I lived with 4 other guys. One of my roommates had gone out that night, whatever, doing his thing. And I had heard him kind of like stumble in that night, come home, and he could like kind of come through the back door and just go right downstairs too. So he wasn't really noisy, but I heard some more kind of commotion, kind of around midnight too. But again, I just talked to my buddy. I was like thinking, oh, maybe he's got a friend over. Maybe they're just chilling, making a little bit of noise, whatever. They're doing their thing. So I continue sleeping. Then I hear like banging, full on banging on the door. Like not like knocking, like full like. And I'm thinking, what are these fucking idiots doing? Did they lock each other out? Or are they just fucking around? Again, like I said, I lived with 4 other guys. So I'm thinking, someone else is going to probably deal with this. So I'm still chilling. I'm still sleeping. Next thing you know, my fucking door bursts open, and there's a London police officer standing there with his flashlight, flashing it on me, going, "London police, get in the fucking living room." And I'm going, for what? Like instantly. And he's like, "Yo, the cabbie 1025." And I'm walking down the hallway, and I'm like, "I'll grab the money right now." And he goes, "Too late." I'm like, "Fuck, all right, too late for what?" Anyway. So they managed to round up all the guys in the house. My one buddy's in the basement, literally just did a bong toke in his room, and the fucking door opens. Cop. My other buddy's sleeping in the fucking nude, and they literally watched him get changed. It was crazy, and they're searching. They're looking all over the house, and it's like, what the fuck is going on? So they subsequently bring us all out onto the front porch. And we're sitting there on the front, or standing there on the front porch. All of us are in our underwear, mind you, talking to this fucking cab driver. And it's like November. And the cop is like flashing his light in each one of our faces, going, "Is it this guy? Is it this guy?" Cab, no. Obviously goes through all of us. It's none of us. I will admit all of us were kind of thinking it was our one buddy who had just gone out, because we knew he was out. But again, like he would have fessed up to it. And I mean, I'm sorry, brother, if you're listening, you know who you are. We didn't mean anything by it. It was just, we were fucking shook. We were totally taken aback. These fucking cops are in our grill. So we're standing out there after the cops go through all of us. We're like just literally standing there still. The cops are kind of looking at each other going like, what do we do? And I had to be like, hey guys, like, can you let us back in? We're fucking cold. It was cold as fuck. So they're like, okay, come sit down. We're going to take all your info. And we're like, okay, whatever. They start taking all of our license shits. And they're like, we're going to look at the video. If any of you guys are on it, whatever. And, my one buddy who went out that night, who's still kind of fucking baked and drunk, it was like, kind of not lippy, and he knew how to speak to police officers. I'll give him that, but it was just like not like building tension, but it was just like clearly the situation was fucked and the cops had fucked up almost. But we were just so like literally, I think it was like around like 2 or 3 in the morning, like middle of the fucking night, literally. And there's 3, by the way, there's 3 cruisers, 5 officers in the house right now, 1 for each of us. So they're like, if we see you guys on the video, you guys are going down. And we're like, whatever, look at that fucking video. You ain't going to see any of us. And as we're kind of getting all of our licenses back, we're sitting in the living room. My kitchen opened up off the living room. There's a doorway right there. And one of the police officers kind of leaning up against the fucking the doorway. And he's leaning there. He's kind of looking. All of a sudden, he just goes, fucking rips a huge fart in our motherfucking kitchen and kind of like smirks at his buddies and is like, like, that was fucking cool, right? And like, it was just kind of one more thing, the cherry on top of this crazy shit Sunday that we had no idea what was happening. And I just remember after that, my fucking adrenal glands were just firing and there was like no chance I was going to sleep. I eventually fell back asleep, but it wasn't a fucking good sleep. And I go back to practice the next day. I'm telling the same story to the whole team. And my one buddy is there. And in fact, one of my roommates who had grown up in the same town as my one roommate, same high school, they knew each other. He had this fucking look on his face after all this went down. And he knew something was up. And I asked him, I'm like, you know something was up. He's like, I think I know who did this. I don't want to say who. And I'm like, fuck, okay. I think he eventually told me or whatever, but he just was not sure, obviously. But he's like, I have a fucking sneaking suspicion. So anyway, I'm telling this story to the whole team, going, you know, literally telling this exact same story that I just told everybody. And the one guy that my roommate suspected was a little overly vocal when he was like, no way. Oh my God. Can't believe that was happening. And that, you know, got me stroking my chin. My buddy B-Rye, shout out B-Rye. He fucking mentioned something and he's like, yo, this guy was acting weird, man. Like, again, I don't want to mention his name, but this guy was acting weird. And it was like, all right. Anyway, so we finished getting our fucking gear on. We're running in practice. And my one buddy, who I suspect did it, I'm running by him in practice on the field, and I just go, I know you did it, as we run by, and he just goes, oh, I'm sorry, man, and totally confessed, and it was like, fuck, man. There's a part 2 to that story. I don't know if I want to go into it. Fuck it, I'll go into it. So, again, that fucking adrenal glands are firing. You know, obviously I forgive my buddy. He's my brother. He fucking... whatever, shit happens. But later that, so the second year, in between second and third year, I was the only guy in the house. Like I said, I lived with 4 other guys. My other roommates, not all of them were football players. Not all of them were, only one of them, other ones was an athlete. He was a lacrosse player. And so in the summer, I was the only guy who stayed in the house because I would stay to work out with the team. So literally, I had the whole house to myself. And my other roommates would just move all their shit out for the summer, bring it back home, use it, and then bring it back to school. So literally, their rooms were fucking empty. They had a mattress and a fucking empty desk, most of them. So some of my buddies even locked their doors because they're like, fuck it, there's no reason even, like, I was like, just lock them. I don't even want to feel obligated to clean it. I don't even want to feel obligated to do anything. So just lock it. Then, safe and sound, whatever. Not like I was going to fuck with their empty mattress, but you know what I'm saying? So they're all gone. I'm there by myself. I go up to Huntsville, shout out my Huntsvillians, including Scott Barker. Again, thank you for the sign, brother. Always at Haven Engraved. Everyone check him out for all your laser engraving needs. I go up to Huntsville for Canada Day. Canada Day, obviously a big holiday, probably a big holiday for anyone, but obviously a lot of university students and them or going to parties or going to some type of event. So I reckon that there was a homeless gentleman or nefarious character, at least, kind of scoping out the neighborhood and seeing who lived where. I believe that this happened in the same year. The same guy fucking stole our cans from our garage. So the guy knew that we lived there. And I think as soon as I left, or at least right after, or at least after I left, before I had come back, I think I was gone for 3 days, and I think I came back on the Monday. Again, Canada Day long weekend. And my pops picked me up and drove me back. And we get to the house, and I go through the back door, and I put my key in the lock, and when I turn it, it's like, it feels like it wasn't locked. There's sometimes that kind of resistance. There wasn't any resistance. I'm like, fuck. Not a good feeling. As soon as I get in there, there's these 2 change jars that I think one of them was my buddy's that he used for change, and I think one of them was mine, or another one at least. And they were empty, sitting on the top of the stairs. And I was like, oh, Jesus. Just a sinking feeling sets in, right? I don't know if anyone else out there has been robbed, especially your house. But, I walk down the hallway and I just hear like this buzz. And I'm like, oh shit, what the fuck is that? It's my speakers unplugged from my laptop because this guy stole my laptop. Now that's fucking bad in itself. I had homeowners or renters insurance, so thank goodness that was covered. But fuck, the guy took my high school gym bag, my St. Mary's high school gym bag with my number on and everything that I took down to Florida and played all these games with and had with me. He fucking took that just to have my laptop in it, so he wouldn't look like a fucking hobo walking around with a bloody laptop. So I'll never get over that. It's a fucking kick in the pants. What can you do? It's probably in a motherfucking dumpster somewhere in London. But anyway. So the guy robs my house, and I'm, you feel like shit when someone robs your house, and your privacy is violated. It's your sanctuary that you want to feel safe in. Now no longer feels safe because the guy basically just popped the screen off the window, opened the window, and came in. I mean, I didn't fucking lock the windows well enough, so it's partially my fault too. But fuck, he kicked the doors in that were locked. Like, he must have been pissed that these other rooms were empty. But fuck him. And fuck everything he's all about. That motherless fuck. But anyway, so the next fucking couple nights, man, I'm literally sleeping with one eye open on one ass cheek. I'm ready to fucking pounce on somebody or something that comes through that door is fucked. Is all that's what is up. I'm firing up. I'm fired on all cylinders. I'm wanting this guy to fucking come back, basically. So it's like, within a week, I want to say later, not much later from the literal event, I'm sleeping right, and my shit's locked down. The fucking doors are locked down hard. Like, again, I'm ready for war. And all of a sudden I hear fucking banging again at the door, and I'm like, here we go. This guy's trying to bust through the door again. It's on like motherfucking Donkey Kong, and I come and I just bust out. I'm in my underwear again. Pull it, screaming down the hall, fuck you, like, get the fuck out of my house or something. Who the fuck, I don't even know what I was saying, but I was just screaming nonsense probably. And I rip open the door. I'm fucking like standing there heaving, heavy breathing, and it's 2 female police officers going, hey, like, did you the cabbie needs money. And I'm like, fuck, not again. I just opened the fucking door. I'm like, get in here and look, come in. Because I knew they were going to want to look around. I was like, come in right now. I'm literally the only one here. What the fuck is it? And they're like, oh, these guys like ran through or whatever. And they gave me a description of my one buddy. Literally, they described my one buddy. So I was like, fuck. I know who it was. So my buddies had a family portrait. Our household went to Sears. And like the 5 of us got like, like family portrait. Like, like all sitting there like nice. And I literally was like, look at that picture. Do any of those people match that description you just gave me? I mean, I wasn't being this fucking harsh, but I was like, look at that picture. Is any of those pictures match that description? And they're like, no. I'm like, those are all the people that live here. So I don't know what happened. So again, fired up as fuck for no reason. Cause again, my buddies ran through the fucking backyard this time. At least they didn't ran through my house to dodge another cab. Fuckers. I know who you are. You know who you are. I still love you though, obviously. But again, just your fucking adrenaline is just like, wow, like firing on all cylinders. And, again, you know, I guess it's like all those stories and all the bad things you hear about police officers and stuff, or like, you know, like, don't get me wrong. Like, you know, I was smoking weed in university and stuff. And, you know, especially like before I went to bed, like it wasn't a regular thing, but you know, before going to sleep, whatever, in the summer, no school, fucking getting after it. And, obviously since I was sleeping, the place probably smelt a little bit like weed. And the two officers that were looking at around the house were like, why are these doors locked? I'm like, well, my buddies don't live here right now. And they're like, is it because it smells like weed? And the other officer were like, kind of like nudged the one that said that and was like, shh. It was very fucking weird. And it was like, I don't know if it was because I was letting them in. I don't know if she thought we had a fucking grow op in the house or something. Like, there's no lights. It doesn't dank. It smells like smoke. It doesn't smell like fucking I'm growing weed. Like, I guess that was a distinct possibility, but just like the way that the one officer was like, yo, shut the fuck up, basically, it was really interesting. Maybe because they kind of knew that they were half fucked up. Like, they half like messed up a little bit and were like, this guy's like letting us in, and like now we're gonna fucking grill him about weed. So anyway, and funny enough, when I did get the officer that showed up, because I called the police telling them I got robbed, the police officer that showed up used to be a Western O lineman. He used to play a Western line. He was a fucking beauty, great guy. Shout out officer, whatever, I can't remember your last name, but I got your card somewhere. And, you know, again, it was a strange circumstance, but you just get fired up. And I felt that same shit tonight. Even though I did nothing wrong, you know, just that in the back of your head. Like I said, you know, it's not like I'm 100% goody two shoes, but I haven't done anything like illegal that I should be worried about speaking to police officers. Right. You know, we just had Jeremy Che on last week. Fucking guy's an absolute beauty. And he's a cop. And, you know, this whole all cops are bastards fucking movement is insane. No one is all anything. No group of people are all anything. And these blanket statements are wild. And defunding the police is fucking insane and all this shit. And I know that there's people out there that have been fucked with. And personally, I've been kind of fucked with from time to time, but nothing egregious. But there's people out there and friends of mine that have been fucked with by police, and that's not right, and that shouldn't continue. But to say that anyone is all anything and to make blanket statements like that doesn't make any sense. And yeah, again, you know, I wanted to come on here and do a little sober October update. You know, I wanted to be doing something every day, and I'm doing something every day, but it's not enough yet for me. I you know, fucking, it's almost halfway through the month now, but Jesus Christ, I still want to stick to it. And I've been feeling great getting back into more of a routine and pushing myself. I've been doing these high intensity interval workouts, and they've been kicking my ass, and it's been great. I've been doing them with no shoes on either, and I think that's really strengthening the muscles in my feet, which I'm really interested in. Because one of the guys I used to hang out with, he was a good friend with the lead singer in the band I was in. Shout out John Wigmore. Shout out brother. Shout out Alexandrian Carpets. But he always used to talk to me because he knew I was in kinesiology. He used to talk to me about shoes and feet, and like all that technology that's in shoes is kind of fucking up our feet. And I totally agreed with him. I mean, you know, our foot is really used to the shoe now, and he was kind of saying we shouldn't be wearing any type of fucking comfort, like thick-soled shoe. I don't know if he was going more towards like that barefoot style or like the like the finger style, like the toe shoe. But I think it was all about like no padding and, you know, again, the way the shoe has, like, since we were little kids, we all fucking been wearing shoes, and it's kind of deformed our feet, some more than others, especially women wearing like a lot of pointy high-heeled shoes, just jamming your foot, fucking playing basketball, jamming your foot, just like all types of sports. Like, my feet are fucked up for many a reason, but I'm sure my footwear hasn't helped. Luckily, I think at the end of the day, though, I have a really high arch in my foot, so my foot is thick essentially. So I have to wear bigger shoes than I think. Like, I probably have a size 14 foot, good size foot, not huge, but I always wear size 15 shoes because I usually get away with a size 14 boot. So luckily, not a lot of my shoes, I was really jamming my toes into the end, thankfully. So my toes aren't too bunched. But again, your toes should kind of splay out like a little bit like your hands. Obviously, your toes aren't fucking as long as your fingers. Unless you're this one guy I used to play with. Yo, shout out, brother. Again, I'm fucking redacting a lot of information from this podcast. I feel, again, I don't know, maybe it's this whole endeavor with the cops right now. I just feel like I don't want to be spreading any fucking rumors. But again, your feet should kind of be splayed out a little bit, the natural foot. And if you look at some native tribes where they don't wear shoes at all, their feet are fucking wide and strong, and they have a pad on the bottom of it that's thick like leather, like fucking hobbit feet. And so anyway, working out without the shoes, I kind of had like kind of sore feet. And I feel like, again, because I haven't really done much, A, and B, you know, doing it with no shoes on, I've rarely done that. I think I got these Metcons, these Nike Metcons that are a little bit more, like, they don't have a lot of padding in them. So when I was working out with Darren Brooks, shout out Darren Brooks, he's going to be coming on the podcast soon. He's going on some sweet fucking retreats, and I want to talk to him after. I think he's going on another silent retreat, so we're going to be the first to talk to him when he comes back. I don't know, but at least the first on a podcast. And again, you know, I think strengthening your feet are really important, and, you know, that's kind of a part of this whole sober October. And you know, I still feel I want to make everyone proud. I want to make all you listeners proud. I want y'all to come along with me and join me in the journey too, and do a little something too, because the month is not done. I haven't done a fucking yoga class yet, so I'm so sorry. Katie, I'm coming. Katie McClellan at De La Sola Studio. She's great. She does great classes. There's lots of classes. There's in person. They Zoom. They do all kinds of stuff. You can check them out at delasoul.yoga.com. Again, just Google them, check them out. Probably got the fucking website wrong, to be honest, but I just love them and I just want to shout them out. Shout out my buddy John Harley too, who's getting his yoga certification too, and he's going to be doing classes. So go check him out. But again, you know, I've said this again, and I'll say it from the beginning. You know, I'm doing this podcast because it's fun. I love doing it, but it keeps me fucking honest. And right now, I'm not living up to that enough. You know, but if you do want to participate, you know, make sure you hit us up, check out our Instagram, make some comments on the YouTube video, but check out our highlights, our story highlights. I got all of our Sober October. There's some cool quotes there from the Wim Hof page. I'm really highlighting Wim Hof stuff because he's got some unbelievable quotes. And I'm doing his breathing techniques on the days that I'm doing meditation for the day too. So I'm loving it. It's awesome. I want to do his cold shower challenge as well, but his is for I think it's 20 days. It might be 20 days straight. But anyway, I want to try that. And again, you know, I love you guys, and I just wanted to let you know how things were going. I know things kind of got a little bit off the rails today because of the circumstances, and I'm fucking fired up, but Anyway, it's going to get me through all the editing and all the fun stuff tonight. And again, I love doing this stuff. I love the routine. I loved having this to go. I love everyone that's listening. Again, welcome all the new listeners. You know, I really enjoyed having Jeremy on last week. It was great to have a guest again and just fucking shoot the shit. It was the longest podcast we've done up to date too, which was so much fun. And, you know, again, I'm going to keep everyone up to date. Go check our Instagram and follow along in the Sober October journey. Again, you know, leave any comments. Please rate the podcast if you can. I love everybody. Check us out on the at the patreon.com/the Bigmark podcast if you want to support the podcast. And again, you know, go out there, live your Sober October the best way you can. Doesn't necessarily have to be free of anything. It can be full of everything. But again, treat your body right, the way it wants to be treated. Love yourself, love everyone around you, and keep shining that light. We'll talk to you soon. Love ya. Peace.